like 0 degrees. I'm out the cage, gotta let out the beast. Revolutionary, gotta let out the streets. Locked in the cage, I'ma let out the wake up, get out the sheets. We came for one man, forget that peace.
It was you that caught my eye, and we both know you're not leaving tonight without me.
So, Lucy Spraggan, thank you so much for chatting to Nonchalant Magazine today. We're super excited to have you. And obviously we want to talk about your new album choices. But before I get onto that point, I'd love to pick your brains about your kind of fitness journey and, talk to me about how you get that six-pack.
The funny thing is about the six-pack is that it was completely an accident. And it's that the audacity of that is so strong because, I did all the fad stuff in the past. Keto, I did Slimming World, I did Atkins, and nothing ever worked for me until I just started looking after myself.
Yeah, God. I mean, all of those diets are just crazy, I think. But it seems like you've got the right remedy now. I mean, you seem like you're in a really, really, confident headspace for you, and you talk about in your album about being on the right path now. For any of our sort of our younger readers that are trying to find the right path, what advice do you have for them?
I always say this to people, as in they should imagine that they're waiting for a train, and that they don't specifically know where that train is going to go, but you're only ever going to be on your way once you are on the train. But in life, you're never told when it's going to arrive, when this moment is going to arrive, when you're going to feel like you're on the right path. For me, it happened when I was in my late 20s, but for other people, it happens when they're 18. Some people, it happens for when they're 50. But you just have to keep going, keep waiting for the train, because it will come. And that's the advice, I think.
That's a really super interesting kind of, analogy. I've not heard something like that before. And I guess it kind of brings me on to the topic of you being an out lesbian singer. And first of all, I want to say thanks to you for that, because you've been out in the public eye from, the get-go of the start of your fame. And actually, the world was a completely different place back then when you were out in the public eye. And I want to get to know if you've had any struggles with that, being kind of an out celebrity, or you've had any kind of pushback.
I think, it's always really interesting to look back at how much things have changed, even from 2012. It's crazy. And because it's all happened around us, it's like how technology changes around us. We know that there were brick phones, and now we have smartphones, but in between we weren't uncomfortable. And I feel like that's the same with kind of gay rights, or equal rights, actually, that it's changed so much, but we never felt that uncomfortable in the middle. Especially not my generation. It's something that the reason I've been able to be so out and so vocal about who I am, not exclusively to my sexuality, just but who I am, are the people of the generation just before us, and before that, and before that. And it was years of fighting and being incredibly uncomfortable for those people who opened up the doors for us to flourish and be who we are. In terms of being a lesbian, as you said, I've only ever been an out lesbian, so it's hard for me then to hold up any contrast between if I hadn't have been. Do I look at my peers in music and see that they have more opportunities than I do? I do.
That's
but
interesting.
I can't pinpoint why. I don't know whether that's to do with being a lesbian.
Yeah, God, that's an interesting point.
But like I say, I've said this a million times, is what I do is so easy because of the people before that made such an effort, that through the first stone. And I I just wasn't able to be.
Yeah, no, that's super interesting. And with what you said kind of about, you know, the opportunities that, you know, other people might have over you, what do you think the industry needs now to kind of get the kind of, you know, more equal kind of rise in that area for you know, the queer community or anyone in a kind of with a diverse background?
Is representation. And I mean, I don't just mean representation either. I don't just mean visibility. The positions of power need to be shared with people from minorities. It's not, we can be as visible and the change will be really slow, right? But progression is progression, whether it's fast or slow. It's amazing. Until the positions of power are offered to people that are minorities, the change will be very slow and very incremental.
Yeah.
The music industry, for example, everybody I work with is a man. Like, the artists are women. But the head of labels, every conversation I have with a label exec or every conversation I have with, sometimes publishing can be for women. You know, and people say, you know, there's not women doing these jobs. It's just not true. It's just not true. So it's the power needs to change hands.
Yeah, absolutely. That is, and I feel like we've got a long way to go, really, from what you're kind of saying there.
We do, but we've come such a long way, and it's something that people in power use against us. It's like, well, look where we were 20 years ago, and you're like, yeah, that's still like,
doesn't that make it okay.
Really, really, really awful.
Yeah.
Now we just take a couple of like reallys off that awful, but it's still really, really awful.
Yeah. God, absolutely. I guess then my next question is got to be around kind of your album, with you releasing a video recently to kind of support the trans community.
Don't be afraid of falling. No one can catch you if you won't. Don't be afraid of chances. Someone will take them if you don't. There comes a time, you know it's right to take the path of which you choose. Darling, you'll make it. Don't be afraid of being you.
Which is obviously another super important message that we've all got to keep kind of pushing for. Talk me through what inspired you to do that.
Well, I'm off social media at the moment, and I don't think I'm going to be returning to it. And the amount of I would love to say a less harsh word, but the amount of hatred that is directed towards the trans community constantly, like, makes me sad.
Yeah.
As just a human being, and I only have friends that are trans. I can't understand what it is to be like, to have to hide so much of yourself, and like for your community, for the world to force you into that position. And like people like Munro Bogdorf she shut her Twitter down. She closed it with millions of followers.
Yeah.
Because she couldn't stay there. And like, it's the same in life. It's not just online. Trans people are murdered for being themselves. And the very least I can do is use my platform to talk about trans people and like just show love.
Yeah.
Just, the world is so empty, so void of love for so many people. But I have a lot of trans friends, and I was brought up around wonderful trans people, and people are just people. I don't understand.
Yeah. No, it's really good that you're using your platform for, you know, all the right reasons, and it's brilliant that, you know, our sort of community has somebody like you that's kind of, you know, doing the right thing, pushing through, standing up for a lot of diverse
Well, there's
groups.
enough like the LGBT Alliance who are saying that like there's no tea, like, oh my god, I can sense actual physical altercation if I come across
it's terrible.
those people, and I'm like, I don't want to be an advocate for that kind of thing, but trans people are dying all over the world. Trans people are just dying, they're being murdered, which stems from hate and all this LGBT alliance sort of stuff. It's disgusting.
Yeah,
so
completely agree. Well, yeah, absolutely glad that you've kind of like,
I get very passionate about it.
No, it's good, and you have to really, like, it's an extremely important topic, and it's kind of like at the magazine, that's what we're trying to do, is provide a positive platform for you know, the queer community, and kind of talking about kind of positivity and role models and like motivation. Who are your role models, and what motivates you? Because I know you've been through this like epic journey of kind of like your body transition and your mental health and stuff. What motivates you, and who are your role models?
I always think this sounds really, I don't even know what the word is, but I stopped, and I'm trying to, you know, when people ask me like, who has inspired this, the honest answer is me.
Brilliant.
Because we compare ourselves to so many people, and like for so long in my career, I honestly believed I wasn't successful. Like up until last year, I was like, I don't have this, I don't have that. So and so has this, so and so has that. Look at so and so's body. Until one day, I was like, I am really successful, because my success is relative to me and all of the things that I have and the things that I would like to acquire. That's where my success is and lives. And so the same with my life changes. So much has changed in my life because I stopped making comparisons, and I stopped trying to aspire to be somebody else that I will never be, and to learn to aspire to change things about myself that I didn't like.
That's brilliant. Super powerful. So a question that I love asking people as well on that note is, if you had a magic telephone and you could ring yourself at the age of 15 and tell yourself something, what would you say?
I always have to say, when people ask what I'd tell my younger self, that it just wouldn't matter, because I would never have listened. Even if I'd have called and said, Lucy, this is me, I promise you, I'll tell you something only I can know, I wouldn't have listened. I've always just, I would say, well, no, there's nothing I could have said.
That person's a different person.
Yeah, like I just never listened.
I think, to be honest, I'm thinking about it, that's probably the same for me as well, actually. So yeah.
But the point is, like, if you go back and change anything, I personally wouldn't, because of where I am right now. And it's like that, but you know, if a butterfly flaps its wings in Japan, it could be a tsunami in wherever, you know, it's like those tiny little things that change. If you went back to change anything about what you've done, you wouldn't be where you are now. And what's the fun in that?
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said before, it's part of your journey, right, and your path. So my next question then, because we are kind of, you know, a queer and lesbian focused magazine, and all of our readers literally love a coming out story, would you be happy to share your coming out story with us?
I am, but it's so boring. My family, I always feel really lucky, and sometimes I feel a bit of guilt. I feel a bit of like guilt that my story was so simple when some people have such a rough time. But the people who have had a rough time have said to me, don't feel guilt. I feel comforted by the fact that your story was so easy.
Yeah.
My coming out story is so irrelevant that me and my mum remember different ways that I came out.
That's interesting.
So my mum says that I was walking up the driveway going, I'm gay, which I don't remember. And then I remember going into her bedroom and saying, oh, I don't like so-and-so. My girlfriend's prettier than her. And then just walking out. Like, so edgy. But I may as well have been said I was going, like, I may as well have been saying I'm going to go and buy some milk.
That's brilliant.
My mum's taken pride since we were babies, and her best friend is trans, and there's all just been such a mixture of people in our lives that my mum celebrates. My mum thinks she's part of a club, having a gay kid. Loves it.
That's brilliant. You saying about going to Pride, would that be Manchester Pride then?
I've been going to Manchester Pride since I was like, as soon as we moved, really. So like maybe 12, 13. I don't know. This is a funny question. This is something I should know. I've been playing Pride since 2008 or 9.
Wow. Okay.
I don't know if it was like London or whatever, but Mum used to take us. I remember watching the parades, and I remember seeing rainbow flags and stuff and being really little. I'll have to ask her.
Yeah.
Who she first was.
Yeah, no, that's brilliant. Oh, wicked. Cool. So that sort of takes me on to really talking about your album properly now. Doing super well. Congratulations. That must be an amazing feeling.
I bought a big house in the country. I live there now. Does nothing for me.
So obviously you talk about a lot of kind of personal experiences in your lyrics, and you've come a long way through all of the different emotions. Did you find writing it therapeutic at all?
Yeah, I kind of find writing anything therapeutic. It's one of my real passions is writing. I'm writing a book at the moment, and I always thought that like writing songs was just like the most deeply therapeutic thing that I could do. But writing this book has been like double, triple writing songs. But yeah, I mean, sometimes I'll write a song, I know what I want it to be about, and I start writing it, and I don't even know how I feel, but by the end of the song, I know how I feel.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I guess it's kind of like similar to kind of journaling and stuff, but do you see that you're kind of having to like revisit those emotions every time you sing the song?
No, I don't feel like that. I have a really like funny relationship with when I sing songs. I emulate the emotion that I felt at the time, but really it doesn't ever like take me back anywhere dark, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And actually I'm kind of glad you said that, really, because that's where your creativity comes from, so you don't want to make that relationship, I guess. But yeah, so
yeah.
I mean, naturally, after you've kind of released the album, you would be touring and gigging. But I mean, with lockdown happening at the moment, hopefully there's some light at the end of the tunnel in summer. Where can people see you perform?
Well, there's lots of festivals running around trying to get shows sorted, but to me, we're not going to put on any shows until this disease and the pandemic is gone, and that we know that we are not going to be a catalyst in another spike and another lockdown. To me, like, keeping people safe is the most important thing. Full stop. So we're just going to be really careful. Our plan is to wait and see, and not just run in, because we have to do this properly.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed. There's going to be some in stores in the summer, but for anyone that's interested, just keep your eye on my socials.
Oh, yeah, brilliant. Well, great. Well, thanks very much for talking to us, Lucy. We really appreciate it. And hopefully you'll come back next year and chat to us in a year's time, and we'll get to see kind of, where you've come in that way.
Absolutely, and I look forward to it, and thank you so much for having me.
Over